filming. It's filming.
It's happening.
Filming. 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 I got it. You look at that camera. You look at this one.
Am I just staring down?
Yeah.
Mug?
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Thanks.
Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. Not again. Yeah.
When training the bench press, we want to look at as many additions to our training as possible. So the first level of that is going to be your accessory presses. There's a handful of accessory presses we can add to our training routine. It's going to depend more on what your weaknesses are or what you're looking to improve, but the accessory press can always follow the actual competition press in your training. Accessory presses can include anything from a grip change, so wide or narrow grip, adding a shortened range of motion, board presses, floor presses, adding accommodating resistance, chains, bands, and then into that kind of its own league, something like a slingshot or a reverse band. Still accommodating resistance, just in a different way. So when we're looking at a grip change, it's really going to depend on where your strengths and weaknesses are. If you're stronger on your press at the bottom, coming off the chest, and then you have trouble locking out, maybe we want to look at something like a close grip, so we're working more anterior delt, more tricep, longer range of motion. So narrow grip pressing, we would take the hands from our normal grip, maybe 2 to 3 finger lengths in. Then as we're pressing, again, we're lengthening that range of motion. The press itself is going to be exactly the same as far as our setup and our form goes. The bar trap path is going to be slightly different because our hands are closer together. So we'll probably come a little closer or lower on the chest here as we press, so we keep that good forearm angle underneath the bar. Again, the narrow grip press is going to focus more on the triceps and the anterior delts versus the pecs themselves. If your strength is actually at the lockout and you have trouble getting the bar off your chest, especially with a pause, then we want to go more to a wide grip as an accessory. So this way we get the pecs more activated and we can build some more mass and strength in them. So similar to the narrow grip, with a wide grip press, we're going to go from our normal grip, maybe 2 to 3 finger lengths out. And then the press itself is again going to be the same. Bar placement on the chest may be a little higher this time so that we keep that forearm angle under the bar. But we're going to feel more in the pecs, and we're going to feel more of a challenge as we get lower into that press. If we're looking at shortening the range of motion, our goal behind that is again to work more on the lockout or our sticking point in the press. So generally, if you have a sticking point, wherever that may be, we want to set up a shortened range of motion just below that so that we can build momentum through that sticking point when we come back to our full press. So for board pressing, we have different options from a 1 board to a 2 board, 3 board, even up to 4 or 5. The bigger the boards, or the more the boards, obviously we're going to have a shorter range of motion. So when talking about board pressing, what you're going to do is have a normal grip on the bar, a normal setup on your press. Everything will be exactly the same. We're just going to place the board here on the chest, and it's shortening the lifter's range of motion. Press off the board, to and fro. So again, if we wanted to increase the range of motion, we go to a thicker board. We work more on the triceps, more on the lockout. It's going to depend on your lifter's needs and weaknesses. When we're looking at accommodating resistance, what we're looking at is something like a chain here, or even to the resistance bands that we can hook to the bottom of a rig or a dumbbell on the floor. That's going to add more resistance as the bar is lifted from the ground. So our goal behind this is to be able to work a full range of motion, but take into consideration our strengths and our joint angles. So as we get further away from the chest, theoretically we should get stronger so the weight increases as you're lifting the chain off the ground, accommodating for our increase in strength. Again, the press here is going to be exactly the same. We're going full range of motion, normal grip, pressing off of the chest. But again, as you can see, The chains gather on the ground as we lower, so the weight becomes lighter. As we press up, the weight becomes heavier. Again, this can be something like an overload if you're looking to add a little bit more right before you're heading into a meet or you're in a peaking phase. So another way we can get an overload in our training is to use something like the slingshot. What that is it's a piece of elastic cloth that we wrap around our elbows that as we lower the bar to the chest, we get some elasticity built up, and that's going to help spring the bar off the chest, so then we can put more weight on than we're normally used to, which in turn is going to A, give us some confidence, B, it's going to help our central nervous system get adapted to a heavier weight, and C, it's going to allow us to train with a higher intensity. Again, preferably use maybe going into a peak right before a meet to get a little bit of an overload stimulus, or we could even use it in training just to get a little extra volume at a heavier weight. One other accessory press that we like to use a lot here at Everyday Athletes is the tempo press. So especially for newer lifters who are having trouble kind of staying in a groove and learning how to keep their back tight, I like to use a 3-0-3 tempo or a 3-2-1 tempo. And what that means is they're going about 3 seconds on the descent, pausing at the chest and then exploding up, or a 3-second descent, pause the chest, and then a slow 3-second ascent, so that we're getting more control of the bar as we're pressing versus just letting it fall, losing back stability, losing core stability, whatever it may be. So again, when you're doing these, make sure that the lifter is really keeping the back tight and pulling the bar down to them, so we keep that stability on the press versus losing all of that in the back, losing the upper back tightness. So when it comes to programming your bench press for yourself and for your lifters, you want to try to incorporate accessory presses as a way to increase your weaknesses and improve those. Again, you're going to choose your accessory press based on where your weakness is at, whether it may be at the lockout or off the chest. Maybe it's a confidence thing and you just want your lifter to have more weight in their hands, so you use something that's like an overload principle, maybe a slingshot or the chains or whatever it may be. You just want to make sure that your accessory press is planned accordingly to what you need versus just throwing in random presses throughout the entire program and it just being kind of a, throwing a dart at a dartboard. So have a little bit of a plan and have a progression. Make sure if it's somebody new, you're starting them with a tempo press and then maybe a grip change to get them used to all that before you throw on chains or bands or even a slingshot and overload them, because then you're really just going to cause more bad habits instead of fixing the bad habits they have and making them a more proper lifter and in better form. Peace. Okay, proper. Proper? Oh, sorry. Jumpin', them boys up to something. They just spent like 2 or 3 weeks out the country. Them boys up to something, they just not just bluffing. You don't have to call, I hear my dance like Usher, ooh. I just found my tempo like on DJ Mustard, ooh. I hit that Ginobili with my left hand, though, like, woo. Lobster and saline for all my babies that I miss.